Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Online Footprint Project. I'm your host, Ross McFarlane. Thank you so much for investing your time with us here today. If you're new to the Online Footprint Project, or OFP, we interview successful business owners and share their stories about how they got started to where they are today. We also make sure that they share actionable value so you can start applying it to your business today. Now, I'm big on feedback, so I'd love to hear from you as to what you thought of the show, what you liked, what you didn't like. Please leave me an email, ross@rossmcfarlane.com, or leave some comments on our YouTube channel, because if you want to watch the guests live and ask them live questions, then please join the Facebook group. Or if you're just happy to watch the videos, then YouTube is the best place to go. Let's go! Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Online Footprint Project. I'm your host, Ross McFarlane. Thank you so much for joining us today, investing your time with us. Now, Isabel Hundt is a successful public speaker. She's a certified transformation coach. She works with Empaths and Empath-Warriors, so an emotional clearing practitioner, and the published author of Power of Failure-Driven Success. So super exciting there. So her works have been featured on TV shows, radio, and well-known podcasts like Entrepreneur on Fire. So very humbled that Isabel has joined us today. So Isabel, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to talk to you and to actually get to talk to you in person. Kind of in person, I guess.
Yeah. Well, if it was 10 years ago, like, I was talking to this guy on the internet, it's like, that doesn't sound creepy at all.
Right. Well, it's funny because I was born and grown up. I was born and I grew up in Germany. Then I moved to the US, and now I'm talking to you in Australia. It's kind of fun.
Yeah. Oh, it's great. Like, the internet is actually amazing. The things that we can do through it is cool. So it's great to talk to you in person. So in a way. So thank you. Better than all through text. So yeah, I'm excited to get you on board, and we just have a bit of a chat about your story and offer some actionable value from the industry as well, just for all listeners. So I mean, Isabel, do you want to tell us a bit about how you got started in business?
Yes, actually, I started out in business at the age of 12, pretty much.
Nice.
Not that I knew that I was going to be an entrepreneur. No, I just knew what I was supposed to do. I had a vivid dream. I think it was around the age of 12. Like, I just remember 12, so I assume it was around.
It's a good number. Yeah, it works.
Sounds good, right?
Yeah.
So what I was dreaming about, and I just remember bits and pieces of it, but what was pretty much the point was that I have to move to the US. I grew up in Germany, as I said, and was born there. And I was supposed to move to the US, and I saw myself speaking in front of a couple thousand people on a stage at the age of 12. You don't know what to do with that. But I just knew that it was in a different language, and I didn't know really what that was exactly, because at that point I really hated English. I really sucked at it, to be honest.
Yeah.
And so I was like, all right, cool. But that dream never left me, never. So subconsciously, my whole life, pretty much from the age of 12, I moved forward to that point, like, what am I supposed to do in the US? I grew up East Germany, so we were pretty much isolated the first years. I still remember the communist days after the separation of East and West Germany. And so we were pretty isolated. We didn't have much to do with Americans. So I was like, why America? Why was I so driven to go there? And I would have never guessed at the age of 18, I really did come to the US, and I worked as an au pair in DC. That's where I had my first encounter with America and Americans, and it was quite overwhelming because everything is a little bigger and a little bit more dramatic. So it was quite interesting to me to have this experience. But then I went back to Germany, and I just knew, like, when I first came here, I knew this is where I'm supposed to be. And then I had to go back to Germany. I got my degree. It was quite an up and down. I started economics because I thought, this is how I'm going to get to the US. I get a job, I get a visa easily, I can do that. Well, did you know that I really, 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 really sucked at economics to the point that I got kicked out of university after 2 years due to having missed too many exams or having, literally, I kind of screwed it up. But it was just not meant for me. I didn't trust my intuition. It was really tough. But in Germany, they have quite strict rules when it comes to studying. So I'm not allowed to study economics in Germany, Switzerland, and Austria. That's something only Germany does.
Yeah.
But it was quite interesting because then I started over and I was like, okay, what is it that I'm really passionate about? What is it that I want to do? And I remember I started reading my dad's psychology books at the age of 12. Since he wasn't able to study during the DDR times when the wall was still up, he got his degree after the wall came down. So I pretty much studied with him psychology and sociology. And I was like, I really like that. But my dad always said that one day we're going to work together, and I don't want that. So I don't want to study anything he did. But I still did it. I started over a year later with sociology and psychology and actually loved it. I mean, I just was able to run through it. But still, in the back of my head, I knew I had to go to the US. Something had to work out. Didn't quite the way I wanted it to. There was a lot of heartbreak, a lot of up and downs, a lot of phases of depression and anxiety because this dream just kept coming up over and over and over. And I was like, just leave me alone. I don't know what to do. At that point, I was in my mid-20s, and I know like most of my friends already had a job. They had family, or at least were in a relationship. I didn't have any of that. I never even had a job. I was like, I don't even know how to have a job.
What
I had
job? Yeah.
What is a job? What am I supposed to do? But no, I actually did work at a grocery store during college to finance my college. And then I worked as exchange coordinator at the university for their international students. But it wasn't really a job. I mean, I just worked there for like 10 hours a week, if even that. And
you paid the bills. So it was enough. It helps you get by. We've all packed groceries in bags before. It's just something you got to do.
You just gotta do it. Yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do.
I mean, look, you do it begrudgingly, but you still do it.
It wasn't a career, It was like everyone has a career, but I don't even know what to do with my life. And so that year, America changed the rules that you can come back for an au pair year if there have been at least 2 years in between the first day and the second stay. I was like, well, that's odd. Maybe that's my way to do it then, even though I really didn't want to do that again, because at this point I was at this age where I could have had my own kids.
Yep.
And living with a family is kind of, well.
Yeah, not fun.
Yeah, not at that age anymore, but I still did it because I knew. So I moved to New York. Well, the family got rid of me quite quickly for some discriminating reasons. Let's not get into.
It happens though. I remember when I was just learning I was just first moving out of home, I was looking at, because I moved out at 18, I was trying to figure out where I could stay, and there was a place that was near me, and it was just some guy, and he was divorced and he had 3 kids, and he walks me through his entire house the whole way to the back and just shows me this little room. And I'm at that age, it's when you enjoy going out and having fun and getting home at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. And he's like, so this is where you'd be living if you want to live there. And I just looked at it. I was like, oh, thank you.
So I'll take it. At least it's out of my mom's house.
Yeah, no, I decided some friends ended up being available, so I moved in with them. I'm so glad I didn't move in with the divorced guy with 3 kids.
That would have been tricky. Yeah, I don't know.
Look, and in hindsight, like, because at 18, I wouldn't have been as respectful as I could have been. Just I would have tried, but when you're drunk and you try to sneak home or whatever, it's you think
that's not so good. No. That's probably not so good. But moving forward, I moved to San Francisco, and then I moved to Indianapolis, where I'm at now. And I still worked for some families, and it was just always an up and down. And I knew something is different about me, something that I need to do, something that I need to discover about myself. I knew there was something different. I experienced the world in a different light. And one of my friends, she kept telling me, like, you have this ability, just looking at people, they know that you can read them. They know that you know something about them that they don't want you to know. And so there's this threat, like people feel threatened by, don't call me out on anything. You're literally like a mirror to their soul. They're like, well, I don't really want that. I would like to have friends too. So it was always a little odd and a little different for me. And then I got married. I met my husband and we got married. So, okay, the part of how do I stay here was okay then. I didn't marry because of that. I mean, we've been married now for 8 years, so I think we're good. But I didn't know what to do. I had a job at a recruiting agency, and I really didn't like it. It was just so overwhelming. I always came home stressed and overwhelmed and angry. And And my husband's like, I don't know what to do with you. Like, you shouldn't be doing this job. I'm like, I know, but we need the money. Like, we need the money. We need to pay down our debt. And then I met a friend through a friend, and he said, well, how about you take a look at coaching? I'm like, well, I don't guess. I studied psychology. I wanted to get into counseling, but that kind of got mixed up too. And like, okay, maybe it's not so my thing because I don't like to talk about problems the whole time.
Yeah.
It just wears me out.
Yeah.
And so I went to that training, and it was considered ontological coaching training. So that means we're really getting more into the spiritual side of who we are. And my husband went with me, and I said, you need to see that, because if we invest all that money, then you need to come with me and make that decision with me.
Yep. And
he was there, he listened, he's like, if that's not what you're going to do, then I don't know what you're supposed to do. I really think that's what you're supposed to do. I'm like, okay, but all that money is a lot of money to invest for this whole year of training. And I mean, I have my degree, I could just do it without it. And he's like, no, I think you really need to do that. There's something for you to learn. And so going through this training, I found out about myself, what was actually going on with me, and finding out that I'm very highly, highly sensitive, considered an empath. Someone who is not just empathic with other people, but becomes them. So I can literally feel what other people feel, physical and emotionally. And sometimes I have visions, but one specific gift that I discovered was that I can see a color around people. And I didn't know quite what that meant for me, because I was always like, I thought everyone is able to do that. I always had that gift. But it means that my mirror neurons, everything I receive, my brain translates into color. So everything I see turns into color. Some people actually have that with music. Everything they see turns into music in their head. It's really fascinating to read up on it. And so through this coaching training, I really got to know myself. But at the same time, I had this identity crisis. I didn't feel German. I didn't feel American. I don't know what I'm doing here. And now I'm supposed to be on the stage and all that. Like, this dream came up again and again. I'm like, can I just be like coach and do whatever? So from that perspective, I finished my coaching training, and I understood more about who I am, but I didn't know how to have my own business, even though I never had anything else really. But I didn't know how to have my own business. So I pretty much coached everyone on everything.
Yeah.
I went from financial coaching to marriage coaching, because we just got out of debt. So I was like, well, that's my experience. Maybe that's what I should coach on. Went really good for a while. Then I was like, oh, maybe, I mean, we have a really great relationship and marriage. Maybe I should just coach on marriage. Like, you kind of try to find your niche and all of that.
Yeah.
And I was like, nothing sticks. And then one day, one of my coaches said, you need to find that is in relation to you, not what has happened around you. You can be good at many things. You maybe have worked through a lot of things, but that is not the work that you're called to do, especially not in the spiritual coaching world. It's like, okay, well then what does that mean? Like, I know I have gifts, but I don't know how to use them. And so I worked constantly over the last 6 years with my own coaches to develop my skills and to really tune in. It's like, okay, who am I supposed to work with? So I started to pay attention to who I was attracting. And most of them were highly sensitive people or considered empath, but I also saw a different side of them. It didn't match the whole empath list of what you're supposed to be and who you're supposed to be being an empath. It just didn't match. And I didn't match that either, because I'm quite extroverted and empaths are usually very introverted.
Yeah.
So I was like, I don't know what that means. Like, I have those gifts. I am that, but how do I use it in a business? So I had a conversation with a friend, and I'm like, it feels like it's an empath within the warrior, and I don't know what to do with them. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's exactly the empath warrior. They're the ones who are the introverts within the extroverts, but they're stuck with their introvert box because they don't know how to protect themselves energetically and how to work through stuff that they're taking on from other people and understanding their gifts, and then being able to take that out and to be that warrior, taking it out into the world. And I was like, that's exactly it. So I started to just trademark it. I'm like, this is exactly, like, I'm using that. That's mine. I own it. And that's how I found my niche, and that's where it grew from there. I understood the basics that are necessary for those people to really thrive. And then it came back to, always came back to the topic of emotions. Like our, especially empath work is based on spiritual and emotional work, literally. So I started to really study on the topic of emotions, and so became the expert in the field of trapped emotions, emotional release, and how can I use energy work within my work as well, and speaking on the topic of emotions, especially with younger people. Yep. And that's how it just established and evolved from no idea what I'm supposed to do to, okay, I'm an entrepreneur, sounds cool, I'm just going to coach, whatever, like everyone else, to really understanding who am I, how am I supposed to use my gifts, and what is the deepest passion of my heart that I would just be able to go on stage and talk about even if I'm not prepared. And from that point on, just doing that work and kind of slipping into it allowed me now to really stand my ground and say, I am the expert in this, and this is how my business now works, and people respond to it because now you're more confident, you're not all over the place, people relate to you, you can tell your story in a way that people say, yes, that's me, or aha, this is what I'm feeling, I can relate to that. So this is how I kind of slipped into the entrepreneurial world of working with Empath and Empath-Warriors. That was a long answer.
Well, it's a very interesting answer, and I'm fascinated. I'll definitely have to look into that more about with the colors surrounding you. But no, it's a great story, and getting into where you are now. It's now you've been building your own tribe and helping others. It's phenomenal. Yeah, I mean, Isabel, let's jump straight into, so now that you've figured out your niche from, where we've led up to, so you figured out your niche and you figured out how you're going to help people. What did you start to do then? Like for those listening at home that, they might be trying to figure out their niche and some actionable value for them to take home. How did you then develop that into an actual business?
For one, like once you're really clear on the people that you want to work with, you have to continue working on yourself. That was the most important part for me, because you attract the people that are just slightly below ear level. It's all vibration, right?
Yep.
And so you always have to develop, you always have to continue your own journey so you can continue helping more and more people at different levels. I think for me, the most important was for me from a marketing perspective is what did I want them, or how did I want them to feel if they work with me and after they work with me. That really created the avatar for my whole marketing. Most of them feel really trapped and often suffer from anxiety and depression. So that was for me, okay, I want them to experience freedom. I want them to be seen, to really feel at a heart level that I see you. I'm not just going to give you drugs, or I'm not just going to give you some encouraging words and just get over it. No, I actually see your heart. And that's why my gift comes in, because then I found out that the color that I actually see around people is their heart. It's not like I don't see auras or anything.
Oh, wow.
It's their heart. It's like their deepest desires, or whatever is going on in that moment with them. The vibration I can receive even remotely. And so that's how I became, or how that term, the warrior who reads hearts, established for my business, which is kind of awesome. Yeah, and there's actually a book to it. It's called The Girl Who Could Read Hearts, from Sherry. I think her last name is Minova. I always forget. I'm actually friends with her now.
Yeah.
That she knows my story, which is cool. But that's how, again, part of the journey, I was open to it. Wasn't attached to the results that I wanted to create. I wasn't attached to the money, how much I want to make. I was just literally open and said, okay, I'm just going to take the divine guidance, God works, or whatever I need to. And then suddenly just books show up, or this person shows up, or opportunities show up. And you just have to say yes, even though it's freaking scary, because I mean, when I got that call from Entrepreneur on Fire, I was like, I don't think I can do it.
Yeah.
I don't think I can do it. And then it was like, send us a short video about what you want to talk about. And I'm like, I think I'm just going to jump out. I'm just going to ignore this thing.
Yep.
And then I just started, that's your opportunity. That's your opportunity. It's like, dang it. I have to do it. So I did. I think the more you really tune in with yourself, the more you become clear on the message that you want to convey to the outside, that you really want people to understand about your business. And so it's no longer about making money, but about something much bigger in any business. And we know people want to be part of something. When people feel part of something, especially something that has a purpose that calls them out to something much bigger, they come. They want to be part of that. And that's pretty much how my business grew, how I created my tribe, just by really genuinely saying, I see you. I don't just want your money. I want you to step into the gift that you have as an empath, because your time is now with where we're at with our global society.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And that's the thing. It's about, really just trying to figure out, where we want to go. And when the opportunity presents itself, we really just need to take it with both hands, because you don't know when a similar opportunity is going to present itself next time. I think
that one probably won't, because somehow he changed his whole structure around podcast now, and I've heard he's charging now for interviews. I don't know if that's true.
Okay. Well, look, I mean, that's, it's a very clever thing to do, because the amount of listeners that they do get, then it would make sense, because, you can monetize from podcasts many different ways, whether it's sponsorship or leveraging it for, clients and leads and public speaking. Yeah. But when you're at a certain level, charging for people to be on there, then it makes sense.
Yeah, that's why you say yes to every opportunity that comes your way, and then figure it out.
Absolutely. If you don't know how to do it, say yes, you can figure it out later.
That's right. Yeah. Even if you just show up and you just smile, that usually is enough.
Look, maybe for us, but it might not necessarily work for everyone.
No, not really. Yeah. You do. I think that's one thing. What I've actually learned through that podcast was he kept sending me emails every second day saying, do you have something unique to say? Do you have something that only you can say the way you say it? Are you clear on your message? Like, you literally get those emails for 2 months in advance, every second day, to really, like, if you don't, I'm gonna set the fire under your butt. Like, I'm gonna smoke you if you don't have that. He won't just say no to your interview. No, he will smoke you, like, literally. And so that was for me even the deeper journey within, okay, now he's really pressuring me, even though I knew I was, but suddenly I started to doubt myself and like, oh my gosh, what am I talking about? He's gonna scare me. Like, who knows? I don't want to be like an idiot on a show. But it helped me to become even clearer and to really find the words and to do the work internally before I could take a bigger stage.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, that's fantastic. So, Isabel, I guess when working with clients, how is it that you do help them? Like, how is it to get them out of their introverted selves? And, because you mentioned before about being protected with barriers and things like that. With those listening here at home, how is it that you can really help them in one way or another?
Mm-hmm. Well, for one, most of them who come to me know that they're different. There's something different about them. They experience the world differently. And we know there are tons of different kind of empath. If you're not quite familiar with that, not everyone is, and not actually many people are. So there are people that are very connected to animals, very connected to nature. Like my son is and my husband, actually, both of them, they're very deep nature empaths. So they feel it when nature is in danger, or my son is like freaks out when someone cuts trees. Like it pains him so bad. Yeah. And it's quite profound, because he's like, I'm going to save the environment. So that's part of what he's going to do.
That's cool. But, yeah, that's really cool.
There's so many different people who can tap into other people on a molecular basis, because we know everything is energy and we connect through that energy. We know it from a lot of research that it's actually true. Like, we can actually see it now. Yeah. And so what I help them is, for one, to help them understand how their heart and their brain works, how that is connected to their ability as an empath, doing the empathic work that they're supposed to do. So being more clear on how your body physically works on a simple level, not the medical terms and all the crazy stuff that comes with, helps already, like, feeling more normal. Okay, actually, there's nothing wrong with me. I'm probably pretty okay. I just need to understand what I'm responding to. And then understanding the field of energy. What does it mean to take on other people's stuff? How does it really work metaphysically, or working within the field of quantum physics. It's quite interesting topics. I had to learn a lot about those because, well, to be honest, physics wasn't quite my favorite topic in high school. But it now being able to implement it on a tangible basis helps me to understand it even more. I was like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. Like totally, like, yeah. And so I help them to, for one, really find themselves within. So the box that they find themselves, which is usually underneath their bed with a blanket over their head and never wanting to come out ever again. That is their little box usually. Yeah. Helping them come out from underneath the bed and to just take a look at themselves. Hey, there's really nothing wrong with you. Then we create tools. How can you protect yourself energetically? What are some of the stories? And sometimes within the client work, I release some of their trapped emotions, and I can do that from anywhere. Like they're usually remotely done because of the ability that I have as an empath, so I can release and find those trapped emotions that are related to some of the things that they're stuck with. It could be a money story. It could be actual physical diseases that have been created through trapped emotions. It could just be an event. Some of them have gone through quite some abuse in their past because they're so vulnerable to other people and never learned how to deal and cope with that. So there's a lot of trauma that we can work through. And then when they are ready, when they feel confident within their role as an empath, that's when we're taking it all to the warrior side. All right, let's create something bigger. What are you supposed to do? I work often with speakers, and they're like, I'm blank. Like, I have a brain fart when I'm on stage. Like, there's nothing there. Yeah. It's like, okay, that's because your brain is overstimulated. You can't think of what you're actually supposed to say or do on stage because you're receiving the audience, like everything they're pointing at you. When I speak sometimes, or when I do workshops, I have one person, a volunteer, come on the stage. And I have on the wall where I tell them, okay, I tell you, or I'm showing you somehow, when you're supposed to send positive energy or positive thoughts toward this person, and when you're supposed to send negative thoughts toward that person. Yeah. And with sending negative thoughts, just by thinking it, the test person's muscles weakened. Like she could not hold, or the person usually can't hold their arm up straight. It's just their whole body weakens. With positive thoughts, it stays strong. And that's the influence that people have on you on a direct level, on a radius of 25 miles around you. I don't know how much it is in kilometer. I should know, but I don't.
I'm going to Google that. Normally if we're live,
about 45, 45 maybe, something like that.
Let's have a look. But yeah, normally when we do live, perfect time I'll ask the audience to Google these sort of things for us. But
I think it's somewhere around 45 kilometers per hour, something like.
So 25 miles around you. Yeah, pretty well. 40.2 kilometers. So spot on as well.
Got it. Yay, nice. And so when they're on stage, when they're doing bigger work and are involved with more people, they receive more information. So they have to do extra work in grounding and staying balanced and protecting themselves energetically. And that doesn't mean that everyone has to get on stage or that everyone has to teach or whatever. It could really just be being in front of a classroom, being in front of having some kind of family work that you're supposed to do and called to do, and you just don't even want to, like you're still locking the door. So that's where I take them out from that introvert box out into the extrovert, and then I help them to find balance within both. So as an extrovert, like I need my introvert time. I know that now. I didn't know that back then.
Yep.
But growing up, I was an introvert. Like you would not see me raise my hand in class. Forget that. I was in the back of the corner. Don't actually see me because I'm not going to say anything. But then once I hit 18, for some reason, I turned into an extrovert because I probably had to, moving to another country. So you kind of get forced. But I was comfortable in that role. And so now I'm just being able to switch automatically within the needs that I have. And that's what I teach my clients. What are your needs and how can you operate within those needs and still have the most impact that you're supposed to and called to do?
Yeah, no, that's excellent as well. So for those listening at home that, they might have their pen and a bit of paper for some actionable value time, what's something you can teach me that, is kind of being able to kind of, in essence, relate to a lot of the listeners out there? Anything you want to talk about?
Well, for one, you always send out energy and you always receive energy and vibration. Everything is on a specific frequency and vibration. That's the only reason why I see everything in color. Actually, our brain stores everything in color codes. Every event, every thought stores in color codes. It's quite interesting. And that from physics, we know different frequencies and speed and how it travels, right?
Yeah.
So being aware of that, especially when you're in business, you can understand more about your clients. You understand that, oh my gosh, if I am actually sitting here like being totally sad or having to work through something or doubting everything about my work, my client will actually know that. Or the potential client will actually respond to that without even knowing it. It's all subconsciously happening. So be aware of your thoughts, the stories that you tell yourself, and what you actually want to send out, what you want other people to receive on an energetic level from you. Another thing is very important with everything, and that's why I love the topic so much, is your emotional world. Everything you feel has a very specific message for you. There's no good or bad emotions, like we try to create the system around it. They have no meaning really unless you add a meaning to it. But everything is on a specific frequency and vibration again. So especially as an entrepreneur, any work environment, those up and downs, right? In the morning you get up and you're really excited and happy, and at night you just like want to throw something at the wall. Those up and downs as an entrepreneur, you can't quite avoid because there's so much that involves entrepreneurship and business, but you can listen to it. So every emotion has a specific meaning. For example, when you feel anger, that means that you are growing. It means that your boundaries have established in a way that you need to expand them. If it's internally or even outward, like maybe you have to create different boundaries with your family members or with your clients or with people that reach out to you. Like that's a struggle for me because I always want to be approachable to people.
Yeah.
But I don't have the time really. So it's hard for me to even say no. It's like, yeah, I understand that you really want to connect with me, but I really don't have time. And I'm always afraid like people would like feel rejected, and I don't like that. But again, that's about boundaries, right?
Yeah.
Fear, we talk so much about fear, how to overcome fear, how to push through fear. Fear is a liar, and I can't, it's like for me, like, no, don't. Just love on it a little bit, because really fear is just a messenger, a tool for you to use, because it literally tells you, hey, you're ready, trust, move forward, take that step. And take the questions that you can ask yourself on a regular basis is literally, what needs to be done? What is the next action? Where am I not trusting myself or even in the divine? And if you are working within a spiritual place, not just your work spiritual, but if you actually believe in anything like that, you can ask yourself those questions. Where am I not trusting? Sadness is a very big part of entrepreneurs, because there are times where we have to let go of things that we have created. And if we don't go through that sadness of actually energetically letting it go and emotionally letting that project go, we're always holding on to it. And we're not ready to create a new project that might actually be really successful, because we're always holding on to the thoughts, what didn't work out with that other project? Why did I have to let it go? And that creates then trapped emotions and then a hindrance to moving forward. So even sadness and grief is a very significant process for entrepreneurs to go through, and to just be with it and just allowing yourself to be in the flow of things. Like everything is in the flow. Emotions, energy, and motion. If we trap it and suppress it, it poisons our body. Our body creates disease from that. And it's hard to move forward from that point. So I think understanding your emotional world, if you're an empath or not, it doesn't matter, is the foundation to pretty much everything you want to go. I always say, if you can't get where you want to go emotionally, if you can't connect to that on an emotional level, you will never get there physically, because you will always continue to sabotage yourself.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's some fantastic insight there. Yeah, no, I definitely think that's something that we can really all apply to ourselves. So, Isabel, this has been a fantastic chat. I really appreciate you coming on. Some fantastic value there. Now, for everyone that is listening at home, how do they get in contact with you so you can help them? Because obviously you've got a lot of help to give. It's just a case of being able to get in contact with them. So, what's the best way to do that?
The best way is my website. It's isabelhundt.com, ISABELHUNDT. People forget the D. DT. .com, where you can find out more if you're an empath or empath warrior, how you can connect with me. There's also a free download, how to protect yourself from 5 simple ways to protect yourself from negativity, which helps people a lot. You can find more information about my book that I wrote. You can find more information about how to navigate your emotional world. I just launched a new course a month ago.
Yeah, nice.
How to navigate your emotional world. You can find more about that. And there's a lot of things. You can also just listen to past interviews to get more insight in my work and to connect. But there's also a contact form and email and phone number. How people can connect with me, and also all the social platforms are on my website. So I put everything in one place, so we have it. We don't have to search for everything and everyone and go crazy.
Simplifying it for everyone. Yeah, awesome. All right, Isabel. Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. This has been great. So what I'll do is, once I upload this to the Online Footprint Project Facebook group, and eventually on YouTube, I'll put all the links in there. It'll be up on iTunes as well. So I'll put your website link in there too, so it's easy for everyone to click. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and sharing it with everyone here today.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a joy.
If you did get some value from this today, please leave a 5-star review on the podcast, or check out our YouTube channel and leave a comment below. That would be so appreciated. Catch you next time.